Okay, so tomorrow we're going to start talking about measuring and drawing angles. I'll have to start out with teaching the basic principles and concepts. And while I'm doing that, we can throw in models and practice problems, and you can do those on the board while I'm talking through it from the back of the room. And we'll have to pass out the protractors to the kids because they have to use those. And then once we start doing the practice problems, you'll probably want to take Billy, Sarah, and Emily to the back and work with them on the problems while the rest of the kids do them individually.
Right. Okay. So we both know that those three, they have IEPs, and especially Emily, she has a BIP that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime that she gets frustrated with something that she can't figure out, she starts throwing her pencil or any other school stuff that she has around her.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on that with her in order to prevent that going forward.
Okay.
So we just need to keep an eye on her
Mm-hmm.
in terms of that and try and help her get past that.
Okay, that sounds good. And then for the I can statement for tomorrow's lesson, I'm thinking we can do something along the lines of I can measure and draw angles in whole number degrees using a protractor. And then obviously that would be for the gen ed students. And what would you say would be a good one for the IEP students?
I think probably just identifying the types of angles would probably be a better gauge for them to kind of get used to at this point.
Yeah.
So we can just say, like, was this a right, acute, or
Mm-hmm.
obtuse angle? And that way they at least have some sort of idea.
Okay.
And let's see if they can grasp that first before moving on to the concept of protractors and then numbers.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so we'll work on that tomorrow.
Cool.
Okay, so to start the lesson, we should write both of our names on the board, and we can both take a stack of the protractors and pass them out together to the students. And then to begin, I can explain the concepts in the lesson that we'll be going over in the lesson, and then you can talk about the schedule of how we're going to do everything.
Okay. So sort of just to let the students have like some sort of sense of comfortability with both of us at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once we move into the actual lecture, if you want to call it, and I'm up at the front, I think you should probably be right at the back of the classroom so that you can kind of like use your voice amongst the whole class, and then you can kind of walk around the back too and see if anyone's kind of messing around or not paying attention. So I think that's a good idea to have eyes on the whole class like that.
Okay.
And then what were you thinking in terms of like some different teaching strategies?
I think for the lecture section, we can do a team teach approach, and I'll sort of direct it from the back, and you can write models and practice problems on the board as we go through, and then you can feel free to interject at any time if I miss a point or you feel there's something that needs to be brought up. And then when we're doing independent practice, we can do alternative teaching and have you be in the back with the group of students while I'm walking amongst the other kids and helping them as they need it.
So kind of break the students up into a few groups, do some student teaching like that, just move around the classroom.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think once I wrap up with the three at the back, I think it would be a good idea if we get them to join in with the rest of the class and start, comparing answers, and just so that they're not separated from the rest of the class the whole time. So I don't know, probably 10 to 15 minutes back there, and then get them right back into the group
Yeah.
so that they can feel like they're a part of the class.
Yeah, for sure. And then they get some group time with the other kids, and it will probably help to try and have the kids explain more concepts to them as well after you do, just for some follow-up.
And then once I'm done with them, I can move around the class as well to make it easier for you, so that, you know, you're not only at a group for a short amount of time, and we can spend a little bit more time with each group just to kind of finish up the class there.
Yeah, and so that'll differentiate things well if you have the group in the back, and then helping the kids who need it the most, and then I can walk around and attend to individual needs and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think that a good technology piece that we could use is to show the kids how to use an online protractor.
Okay.
Because, you know, some kids kind of struggle with the concept of lining up the protractor on the line and stuff like that. Right. So just to give them
maybe if they don't have one at home too, they can maybe use their phone or something if they have that,
and
or their parents' computer.
It's just another way to support like their learning for using the protractor, because I know in the past kids have struggled with using that.
Okay. So we already talked about Emily with her behavior problem, but I think we should be consistent with the rest of the students in terms of their behavior as well. You know, not too harsh, but also just being very firm and consistent with our discipline, just so that the students know exactly what to expect from us and from themselves as well.
Of course. I definitely think both of us moving around the classroom often and consistently will help with that, because, you know, if you're moving around and constantly, they're less likely to be goofing off if you're in close proximity to them.
I agree.
And I think with Emily, I know she gets very upset with herself, and we try to have her take a step away and regroup when she's feeling anxious and starts acting out. So I think that even with other kids who are getting upset with themselves while they're working on like harder concepts, we can apply the same approach to them and to help them work through it. Okay.
Good.
Sounds about good. Okay, so for the assessment piece, I think the best way to do it is to just observe as we go through the lesson and how, like, what certain kids are asking and stuff like that, just for observational purposes, and we can kind of jot down notes as we go around and see those things. And then at the end, after they do their practice problems, we can collect them and grade those for to see how the kids are doing. And I think the best way to do that is in the grade book, have whatever we're going to label the assignment, and then make it out of 15 points and go through and mark half points or full points off based on what they did. And then we can put that in the grade book for how their grade is.
Okay. So are you thinking about constructing any groups maybe based on the assessment that we collect throughout the first class?
I would say the day after the lesson we can do sort of like an extension or reteaching day for the students. So based on what kinds of problems students are getting wrong, we can kind of group them based on what concepts needed to be retaught. So for kids who fully grasp the concept, we can have extension worksheets to like give them more complicated stuff to work on.
Kind of get them to progress. Okay. And for the 3 IEP students, what are we thinking about with them?
I would say that we'll just put them in the reteaching groups, and just have them follow along and listen.
Okay.
And then if we need to go through other things with them, we can do that at another time.
Okay.